Help the D make strides against breast cancer by donating to our Real Men Wear Pink page, maine.acsevents.org/Utica. It's important for us as a whole to help raise awareness, education, and do our part to help fight this horrible disease. The Disruption team will be raising funds at upcoming events and all our daily programming. Please support our cause by donating a few dollars to our Real Men Wear Pink page. To learn more, visit maine.acsevents.org/Utica or follow the donation link on our Facebook page. Help the D, save the bees, and put an end to breast cancer.
Thank you for your service, you're welcome. A comedy benefit show for our veterans. In support of the Central New York Veterans Outreach Center. On November 10th at Wakely's, 700 Varick Street, Utica, join Disruption Network as they team up with 92.7 FM The Drive for this night of laughter. The evening will be hosted by Genesee Joe from The Drive. Performances by Mike Ciccone, Paul Kozlowski, Cortland Cluse, Mike Pileggi, and DJ Ease One. Admission is by donation only. Please bring clothes, socks, gloves, non-perishable food items, or a small monetary donation. All donations will go to the Central New York Veterans Outreach Center. Saturday, November 10th at Wakely's on Varick Street. Doors open at 7 p.m. Show starts at 8 p.m. Thank you for your service is sponsored by The D, 92.7 FM The Drive, Paulie's Barbershop, NYE Volkswagen of Rome, Frank's Guns, and Central New York Seal Coating and Concrete.
So you just bought your dream home, and now it's time to move. Let's face it, nobody likes to move. All the packing, unpacking, lifting, upstairs, downstairs, and broking everything, including your back. Let the professionals at EJA Moving Company take all the stress and pain out of your move. Competitively priced moving, relocation services, office moves, and complete packing and unpacking services. They work with everybody to make it simple and easy for you to move and relocate. Call EJA Moving Company at 315-335-0516. When it's time to relocate, have EJA Moving do all the work for you. Hit them up online, ejamoving.com.
Hey, Disruption Network. This is Mike Sacco, the general manager at NYE Volkswagen of Rome. If you don't know me by name, it's only because you have not received the best deal. There's only one reason to leave Utica, and that's to come see me in Rome and get the best deal on your next new, pre-owned, or certified VW. Mention that you heard this ad from Disruption Network and receive $250 off your next vehicle purchase. You'll know why our customers say, I love my NYE VW. Come see us at 5865 Rome Taberg Road in Rome or visit us online at nyevwofrome.com.
The Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley was born when 3 top producing agents with over 25 years of combined experience selling real estate joined forces to take real estate to the next level. We practice with honesty, integrity, and the knowledge to help make the buying and selling process easy and stress-free for all of our clients. We pledge to always make our clients our top priority from start to finish and even after the house is closed. We will always be a valued resource for information and assistance for our buyers and sellers. Our customers over the years have become not only past clients, but great friends. As we join hands together as the Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley, we look forward to serving our clients and our community and making a positive difference. You can reach us at 315-601-9630 for all of your real estate needs.
The Disruption Network is making moves. For upcoming events, news, interviews, and new daily programming, keep in the loop with us at DisruptionNetwork.net. Like, follow, and subscribe to all our social media. And check out all our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Get up on the D, DisruptionNetwork.net.
The following is a presentation of Disruption Networks.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Baseline. Play ball!
The Baseline, SPG, JP, here to talk all the news and notes around Major League Baseball, including the big thing that's going on, that kind of big thing, the World Series.
The Fall Classic.
The Fall Classic.
And boy, do we have World Series fever here at the Baseline. I say that because it makes us sick to have to watch the Red Sox and the Dodgers play for baseball's ultimate prize. Well-deserved. Both teams very good. Dodgers, especially late in the season and postseason run here with Machado, kind of getting himself into some interesting scenarios. But yeah, it is the Fall Classic, so we'll be talking about that and kind of giving our preview, even though we are one game into the series now with the Red Sox taking a 1-0 lead with Game 2 from Fenway, first pitch right about now, actually, a few minutes ago. We'll see if the Dodgers can tie it up or if the Boston Red Sox take a 2-0 advantage after the first couple games. And, yeah, we're hoping that you're out there listening to us. Even if you're watching the game, turn down the volume so you don't have to listen to Joe Buck. As painful as that is, listen to us talk some baseball and watch the game on mute, please.
Yeah, mute it. Listen to the Baseline boys because Lord knows you don't want to be listening to Joe Buck right now. Real quick, what I want to start off with is if you look down here on the Facebook feed, you will notice that we have a pinned post here from Disruption Network, and we are making strides against breast cancer here at the D this month, and we have this campaign going on called Real Men Wear Pink. Last week I was honored enough to stop down to Wakely's on Varick Street and do a little guest bartending for this cause here. SPG's got the nice Real Men Wear Pink hat going on right now, and what you guys could do for us is while you're sitting here and you're listening to us, click on that link and give us $5, $10, something.
Yeah, even $1.
Help us reach our goal.
Even $1. Everything helps. We all know somebody who's been affected by this horrible disease, and some of our very close friends and colleagues have gone through that themselves. So it's a very important cause, and we're trying to help raise awareness, raise some little bit of money to help out the American Cancer Society so they can continue to fight this horrible disease. So please, if you can, if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher or any of those, and you're not looking at our Facebook page, please.
Well, how about I just tell you right now?
Go to our Facebook page, and you'll find links directly to our Real Men Wear Pink donation page. And we need your help. Help us out here. Throw us a little bit of money so that we can help the American Cancer Society out, and it'd be much appreciated.
Absolutely.
So check it out, please.
Real Men Wear Pink. Now we're going to talk about the World Series. Pretty much. You stick around for our 7th inning stretch tonight, and we're going to talk about the most iconic World Series moments of all time. Most iconic. See,
there are a lot of them.
There are too many.
We had a very hard time narrowing down this list, so we decided that we're going to go extra
we got
innings.
A damn good list. And you know what you guys can do is you can comment and you can tell us what you think are the most iconic World Series moments of all time. Want to have a little friendly dialogue here about baseball tonight. Get everyone away from Joe Buck. Awful.
A little reprieve.
Watch the game out of the corner of your eye, and you listen to JP and SPG. We're going to take you through the Fall Classic. And first, I think that we should start off with a little bit of maybe an NLCS and ALCS recap. We haven't touched on that in a while.
Yeah, that was
because we haven't been around. It's been 2 weeks.
Great NLCS. It really was
outstanding. The 2 MVPs. You were almost right. You picked Josh Hader.
If that Game 7 had gone the other way, if something happened there where Chris Taylor doesn't make that catch, who knows?
If the Brewers are in the series,
maybe
Josh Hader
is the winning pitcher of that game.
Josh Hader is certainly the MVP, but you almost nailed it.
Almost. I wish I did. I was really pulling for the Brewers.
We were pulling for the Brewers hardcore. They became my team as soon as the Yanks got bumped out. That's it. I announced myself as a Brewers fan. I was wrong, but pleasantly surprised with the Brewers this year. Even exceeded my expectations. Look like a really good team going forward, especially the way Craig Counsell is a great manager.
All the credit to Craig Counsell.
Absolutely.
And he's been involved in some. I know they didn't make it this year, but he has been involved in some iconic World Series moments himself, which you may hear about later on in the show.
Perhaps.
So in the ALCS, it was kind of marred by the whole Houston Astros surveillance thing. And
Dave, where are you, buddy?
Houston wins Game 1, and Boston ends up winning the series in 5. And then the whole controversy with Houston. And there is really a clear line of demarcation right there where you can draw it down the middle of that series or down this postseason, and you can clearly see where production really tailed off for some of these guys. George Springer, for one. Not just him, though. I mean, the whole team kind of started struggling after this. You wonder if there is a correlation. You got to think it. I mean, it does not look good.
So the Astros were 4-0.
In Major League Baseball handled that terribly, too.
The Astros were 4-0 with an average margin of victory of 5 runs prior to being reported to Major League Baseball for cheating allegations. And after being reported, the Astros were 0-4 with an average margin of loss of 3.25 runs. So just the numbers alone right there. And those are courtesy of our off-site statistician, Mr. Dave Bandick. Thank you very much for chiming in. He says he's here right now. Cara Celtic Hawkins. Car, how you doing? I'll see you tomorrow night at the bowling alley, but she's talking about the World Series sucks because the Red Sox are in it. Well, I think that the World Series sucks because the Dodgers and the Red Sox are in it, but for a Yankee fan, that's rubbing salt in the wound having to see one of them hoist the Commissioner's Trophy at the end of the year. But I couldn't agree with more with you, Carlene. Not at all. But Dave provided me with that information. It's staggering. 4-0 and 0-4. A significant line of demarcation, just like you say. So, what's to come of that? Dave, chime in, please. Shoot me a message, whatever you want to do.
And to give Boston credit, I don't want to make it seem like it was Houston's cheating scandal or alleged cheating scandal is the story of that, which in my eyes it really is. But give Boston credit for really going on a tear in those last 4 games. After Houston won Game 1, they looked so strong that I was convinced they were going to win that series, and then I was proven completely wrong by Boston winning 4 in a row. Jackie Bradley Jr. ended up getting the MVP of the series.
Amazing, yeah.
Batted only 200, but 9 RBIs.
What was he, 5 for 25 with 9 RBIs?
Huge home runs that were significant in securing that AL pennant for sure. So, an unlikely MVP. I don't think anybody would have predicted JBJ is the MVP of the
not at all.
Of the ALCS before it started. But that's what October is. I mean, that's one of the charms of postseason baseball is that you get a guy like Jackie Bradley Jr. And we talked a little bit off air about what Mark Lemke did in the early 90s. And
so that's what is that, the 1991
Pablo
World Series?
Sandoval hit 3 home runs in a World Series game. I mean, it's crazy in October when some of these unsung heroes come out and do these incredible things.
He popped 3 home runs. He popped the Red Sox for a contract. And then he popped his belt. Then he popped his way back to San Francisco. The Big Panda.
That's the story of the Panda.
Not to go off on a panda tangent here.
Panda tangent.
Panda tangent. Maybe that's a new segment for next year. I can't do it. I can't do it. We're going to go off on a panda tangent here, though. If you're literally called the Panda, and you got people showing up to the park, you're going to all-star games, you're winning a World Series every other year as a Giant, you got this whole following. The Giants offer you a great contract. What are you doing? What are you doing going to the Red Sox? Horrible on both ends.
And that's the Panda Tangent.
The Panda
for this episode of The Baseline. Episode 24 of The Baseline.
Episode 24.
So we are... Mariano Rivera is warming up in the bullpen, ready to close this season out for us. We're not quite done yet. Hopefully it doesn't end up like the 2001 World Series.
All right, back to the lemmer for a second, all right? 1991 World Series. So for those tuning in right now that are unfamiliar with who Mark Lemke is, Mark Lemke was a kind of light-hitting second baseman, not a utility infielder because he did
with the glove,
but great with the glove. And back in the day when you could have a second baseman that hit ninth, and he scrapped out 220 and played a Gold Glove second base, you could have that back then. Especially when you had a guy like Maddox or Glavine or Smoltz on your staff, you need a guy that can play behind him. So anyway, the lemmer, Utica, New York native Mark Lemke, 1991 World Series, 6 games, 26 plate appearances. 4 RBIs, 2 walks, only 4 Ks. He had 10 hits, 3 triples, which is a World Series record. 3 triples in one game, or in one series. He hit .417 for the series, a .462 on base, and 1170 OPS. Even though those stats didn't matter back then, they matter now. So you just know this dude had a great series. He is the automatic World Series MVP. Automatic if the Braves win that series. So big up to the Lemmer. Hope Mark Lemke's listening and tuning in because he is Utica's own. Just like us.
You mentioned they didn't win that World Series, and the things that the Minnesota Twins did to accomplish that World Series title is something we are going to discuss in our 7th inning stretch. So see where we have that ranked.
Go check out that 91 World Series. What a great World Series.
We're going extra innings today.
We are going extra innings.
We're going to rank 14.
In honor of the longest World Series game ever played, which happened twice, 14 innings. 1916, the Brooklyn Robins
against the Boston Red Sox.
1916, 14 innings. 2005, the Houston Astros against the Chicago White Sox, also 14 innings. So in honor of that, our 7th inning stretch, we're going to rank the top 14. It is a mutual list. It's not exclusive. We talked about it a little bit just so we didn't have any repeats, but that's what we're going to do tonight. So stick around for that. NLCS talk over. We know who's in the World Series. We already have a leader, 1-0 for the Red Sox last night. Couple big hits.
Cody Bellinger with MVP.
That's right.
Dodgers.
We forgot to say
that's worth mentioning too. He had a great series.
And then don't start.
His bats really. Came alive.
He doesn't start against Chris Sale, obviously, but doesn't. How many times you ever seen that the CS MVP doesn't start the World Series? Go figure.
Modern day baseball matchups and analytics.
Modern day baseball. To quote Old Hoss Radbourn.
Yeah, Old Hoss Radbourn's
Clayton
Twitter.
Kershaw.
Check out Old Hoss Radbourn's Twitter. We always talk about it. It is worth a follow if you're on Twitter at all, or just Google it. If you don't have a Twitter, you'll be able to find a link no matter whether you're a user of that service or not, and it's worth following. So, yeah, Old Hoss Radbourn had something to say about Chris Sale and Clayton Kershaw last night, I believe, right?
Clayton Kershaw and Chris Sale didn't manage to put together very many innings last night. So, Old Hoss Radbourn, our boy,
he had something to say about that. He wanted to chime in on that.
He did.
And what he was getting at is it's a lot different than the era where you could see somebody throw 57 complete games or whatever it was that in that fateful season.
Yeah. So Old Hoss Radbourn had this to say. Nice to see last night's starters couldn't muster 9 innings between them. Great stuff. It's only the World Series, boys. No need to shine.
I like how you delivered that. That was like perfect Old Hoss style, how I picture it.
Yeah. Sans one eye and, maybe doing this. I'd look just like him. Nobody's a legend, though. He's a legend.
Not like Old Hoss.
Not like Old Hoss. The best baseball Twitter on Twitter. Go follow Old Hoss Radbourn. You will enjoy it.
No doubt about it. So, yeah, like you said last night, Boston goes up 1-0 in the World Series. Former Yankee Eduardo Nunez with a just devastating home run for the Dodgers. That I forget what inning it was, 7th inning maybe. I could be one off on that because I admittedly wasn't paying close attention. Yankee fan, obviously. Saw that happen and kind of lost interest in the game because that blew it right open. But, yeah, Nunez had a monster shot to left field over the monster. And Boston takes a 1-0 lead here.
I said before the show, well, not before the World Series started, but we had been talking last week.
Predictions you're talking about?
Yeah. We didn't get them on air, per se, because the championship series weren't over the last time we did a show, but I had said that I got the Red Sox winning fairly quick. I think 5 games. I think the Dodgers muster out 1, but I got the Red Sox winning. They just hit the ball. The bullpen's a question, but we saw that come into play last night. The Dodgers came back. They rallied a little bit. They tied the game. Boston just put them away. So I got the Red Sox. I got the Red Sox in 5. I'll give the Dodgers a game.
Yeah, so I predicted Boston would beat Houston. Was not excited about that prediction, so I expected that they would be here, and I thought the Brewers were going to take the NLCS, and the Dodgers are.
We had Brewer fever.
Here we are with the Dodgers in the World Series after them having a disappointing season, really, compared to what their expectations were at the start of the season.
I bet they didn't expect to be playing.
Luckily,
everybody
in that division kind of hung around the same group right till the end, and they did what they needed to do to get there. And they got hot. They got hot at the right time in the postseason. I don't think the Dodgers are nearly the team the Houston Astros were, and of course the whole allegations comes in. I mean, how good are the Houston Astros? I guess we truly don't know. But I still think, I agree with you, I think Boston will be this year's World Series champion. I'll say in 6 games. I think the Dodgers do make it interesting. I could see Boston getting out to a 2-1 or a 3-1 series lead, and then the Dodgers winning 1 and Boston closing it out. So I'm going to say 6 games. But, I'm right there with you. 5 or 6 games is kind of the feel for me, too. So I think you're going to see the Boston Red Sox finish this thing after winning 107 games in the regular season. And
far and away the best team across the whole regular season.
Start to finish. Now we'll see if the Dodgers have a little underdog story in them here. But like you said, Boston's out to a 1-0 lead in the series, and they're up 1-0 tonight, bottom of the 3rd inning. The Dodgers have yet to get a hit tonight. So, here we are.
Here it comes.
Yep.
So what do you like? What do you like going forward in this series? Because, everybody wants to talk about weaknesses and vulnerabilities. If you had to pick one thing from one of these two teams, what would you take?
Well, it's easy for Boston, and it's bullpen. And even Kimbrel has really not been, the stud that you expect him to be in recent weeks. You saw the Yankees get to him a little bit in the ALDS. You saw Houston hit him a little bit. Ended up not costing them, but he wasn't at his best by any means. And I think Craig Kimbrel, and not just Kimbrel, but the bullpen as a whole is kind of Boston's weakness. And it's hard to pick a weakness on that team. They are a stacked team. So you could either say the bullpen, or I guess you could say maybe the starting pitching, but those guys have all performed, including David Price recently. So it's really hard to say that is a weakness. But if I had to pick one thing for Boston, the bullpen is the potential Achilles heel there. So keep an eye on that. I think the rest of their team is just so good that they can overcome it. But definitely a storyline to watch is the Boston relief pitching.
And what about the Dodgers?
The Dodgers, I think weakness there. You could almost make a similar argument that the bullpen is their weakness, which is
totally agree.
Very, very odd to say about teams in the World Series.
But if Clayton Kershaw is going to come out and give up 5 earned, the bullpen's not going to be really much of a factor.
And Ryan Madsen's not looking that great. Some of the
funny thing is, he actually looked really great last night.
Yeah, he did.
Stuff-wise.
Last night he did. He threw. I think his first pitch was a wild pitch, but he kind of recovered.
It was a short changeup.
Yeah,
about 54 feet.
He recovered from that a little bit, but he's not somebody I would completely trust with the game on the line by any means. Kenley Jansen, you could almost say the same things about him I said about Craig Kimbrel. By reputation, one of the best in the game, but he's another guy I would not fully be comfortable with going against the Boston Red Sox in the 9th inning, trying to hold a lead. But there's not too many relief pitchers that I would be. Maybe that or the back end of their starting pitching staff. But even those guys have been pretty good, too. It's almost like the script is very similar to, at least in the postseason, for how Boston and LA's rosters shape up here. What do you think? Bullpens?
I still can't get over it. I don't want to even admit it. admittedly, given the circumstance of what we do, I watched nearly the entirety of the game last night. I don't even want to admit it that it's the Dodgers and the Red Sox. It's tough for me to swallow.
Yeah, I have
but
to.
That being
I
said,
I have to admit, I did not watch the entirety of the game last night.
Oh, no?
I watched a good portion of it, but
so,
after that,
define your lack of interest.
So here's what my night consisted of for TV watching last night was post Eduardo Nunez home run. As soon as Nunez hit that home run, I had to change the channel, and I just kind of scrolled through a bunch of random crap, and I ended up watching Cash Cab for a little bit. I tuned into
the Cash Cab. Ben Bailey.
I needed something mindless in
where you headed.
Yeah, exactly. I needed something like that to watch and get my mind off of Boston. You just head down in the Cash Cab. Yep, that was much more therapeutic than watching Boston win a World Series game. I can tell you that. But I did watch a good portion of that game, but I needed to take a Cash Cab break for sure. And you know what?
You could not be any less enthused about the World Series than sitting there and watching reruns of Cash Cab.
This is perfect, actually. Is Game 2. We get to sit here and we get to talk about baseball. We don't have to listen to Joe Buck.
This is the Mute Joe Buck campaign. In addition to the campaign that we had going on called Real Men Wear Pink. You see the link. Scroll down. See the link posted by Disruption Network. Click on it. Give us some money, would you? Trying to reach our goal and trying to help out everybody with breast cancer. So give us some money. And then our other campaign is the Mute Joe Buck campaign. If you're watching the World Series currently, mute it. Listen to the baseline. Way better off than listening to Joe Buck or watching Cash Cab. Although I do like Cash Cab.
Dave's chiming in a whole bunch here. He says 73 complete games for Old Hoss.
And how many tries?
Out of 73 starts.
Oh, is that it? That's good, right?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Old Hoss Radborn.
Our buddy Eric Leo chiming in.
Forever inside.
We were talking Kershaw, and he says, does Clayton Kershaw get drafted in the first 2 rounds of next year's fantasy drafts?
In our fantasy draft, absolutely not. In some fantasy drafts, maybe. But
I still think somebody's going to take him in the first 2 rounds in our fantasy draft. I won't. I'll tell you that.
20 picks. 20 picks. I can pick 20 off the top of my head right now. I'm taking before Clayton Kershaw.
You and I can, but we know.
Well, that being said, to add a little caveat to that, where's Clayton Kershaw pitching next year? That's got a lot to do with
it. It's a valid point.
If Clayton Kershaw's pitching in Oakland, I'm probably going to take a shot at picking him up. If he's pitching for the Yankees, maybe outside the top 20 picks. You know? Just based on, being able to go negative points in our league. It's not to say he's not a top 20 player when he's peaking, but he's not. He hasn't been at his peak.
He's too much of an injury risk in fantasy baseball.
But the same thing with Madison Bumgarner. I would put him in the same.
Real life baseball, he's a great asset. You get to the postseason, and he's pitched pretty well this postseason. Last night being an exception to that, but he's still a lethal arm to throw out there. A true ace in my opinion when he's fully healthy. But that's the problem; he's almost never fully healthy. So he's going to miss chunks of almost every season going forward. He's not getting any younger.
Especially if the Dodgers are in contention going somewhere near August. They start spacing out his starts, skipping him. He makes a start for the Sugarland Skeeters of the West Coast League. So. Yeah. I don't think inside the top 20, Commish. I don't. But that remains to be seen. It depends on if Fred McGriffey Sr. comes back. Because he might just grab up all the pitchers.
He'll be back. I talked to
all
him.
The pitchers.
He's excited about next season. He had a good time.
I show you some trick or two.
He put up quite a fight this year. And he was a worthy adversary, I'll say that.
Indeed. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's a lot of comments tonight. And it's not off topic, Eric. It's not off topic at all.
Anything baseball is on topic. Don't be afraid to ever just throw out anything you want to hear us talk about, even if it's for
Dave,
a few minutes.
Dave also checking in. Pujols to L.A. worse than Panda to Boston. No. Contract, maybe.
Terrible move.
Production on the contracts, on said contracts. I take Pujols' production.
It's not even close.
I take Pujols' value as well. Panda to Boston, they're paying him to play for San Francisco. So, no, I'll take the Pujols deal in that one. Still not a great deal. You'll never see it again. They're never going to give
saying that
they're never going to give a 31-year-old or 32-year-old a 10-year contract again. But you're going to see some 10-year contracts coming up here soon.
Not a Pujols tangent, but when the St. Louis Cardinals have no interest in bringing him back, an all-time great for that organization, a multiple World Series winner, if his original team has no interest in bringing him back at anywhere near what he got from the Angels, then that was going to go wrong. You know it, because if they could have gotten him for anything reasonable, he would have stayed in St. Louis. You know it, but... yeah, that's a terrible move by the Angels. Speaking of the Angels, they have a new manager. Brad Ouchmus? Is that how you pronounce it?
Ouch. And you know why we say ouch? They should just call him Dr. Ausmus. Paging Dr. Ausmus.
He's also an elbow surgeon on the side.
Welcome to the OR, Dr. Ausmus.
He's
here managing the torn UCLA Angels.
He's an apprentice of Dr. James Andrews, so he figured he'd be a good fit to manage the torn UCLA Angels.
Yeah. And Dr. James Andrews always recommends bunting when you're getting no hit in the ninth inning. Brad Ouchmus.
So Ausmus is there, and he was with the organization for a couple of years in player development, I believe.
He's been there since 2016. In player development, in the front office.
Yeah, he's had a front office job.
So he's very familiar and well-versed in torn UCLs.
Yeah, he's very experienced at torn ligaments and elbows.
Paging Dr. Ausmus.
Perfect fit.
Paging Dr. Ausmus. And speaking of new managers, there's a new manager. Where else we got new managers?
Cincinnati Reds.
Cincinnati. They hired David Bell.
David Bell, son of Buddy Bell, former infielder, major leaguer.
Yeah, David Bell, a major leaguer as well.
And there was a lot of talk that maybe Joe Girardi was the favorite for that job, but he withdrew his name towards the very end of the process, ironically the same day they announced
There's no
Bell.
way you see Joe Girardi take the Orioles.
No.
There's no way.
Nope. So the Orioles job's open. Buck Showalter was relieved of his duties or contract not renewed. I forget how that worked out.
But there's rumors about Joe Girardi in another job.
There is, yeah, and I think that is one of the biggest reasons why you didn't see him take that Cincinnati job. He obviously took that seriously. He went pretty deep into the process. He ended up pulling his name, and they hired David Bell. But I think what you're really looking at is he's waiting for that Chicago Cubs job to open.
It's a dream job for Girardi.
He's
a
waiting
Northwestern
for that job.
guy. He went to Northwestern. He's a Chicago guy.
Yep.
Played for the Cubs. Obviously, played for the Yankees, played an integral role in a couple World Series championships as a starting catcher, or split in time anyway, but 96, 98. He already fulfilled his obligation as Yankees manager. Obviously, he's a former manager of the year with the Marlins, World Series champion with the Yankees.
Yeah, as a manager and a player.
And he's a Cub. He was a Cub. He played for the Cubs. He's a Chicago guy. It's a perfect fit. Notebook Joe.
Yeah, I believe he.
Notebook Joe.
So he
Bring
was
your
with
binder, Joe.
The Cubs, and then I think he got picked up in the expansion draft by the Colorado Rockies way back in the day. That's how he ended up leaving the Cubs organization.
Correct.
And then he ended up signing with the Yankees a year or so later on.
That is correct.
But yeah, I think he's got his eye on that Cubs job.
You mean that same expansion draft that David Need got taken first? David Need.
That's the one. David
I need to hear all about David Need.
They picked him for his name. They just wanted to say, "Hey, we need you."
Yes,
number one. In the
Do you remember how
draft.
many stars, not stars, but the Vinny Castillas and Dante Bichettes and Larry Walkers, and the Rockies just had some firepower. Andres Galarraga.
Yeah.
And for all that firepower, that iconic, what you would assign with, all those guys were having career years, 35 homers, 100 RBIs, because they're playing the altitude for the first time and the ball's flying. The Marlins have won 2 World Series, and the Rockies have won none.
Now, they have been to one. They got swept by the Boston Red Sox.
That's good, right?
The 2000s, early 2000s. But, they don't have a championship to show for it. They had a decent team this year. Eliminated the Cubs with that Kyle Freeland start. But, no World Series titles to show for it.
No World Series titles.
The Diamondbacks even have one, too. And they
came in later.
Team after that.
They came in later. And the Rays have been to one. And they came in with the Diamondbacks.
Yep.
So, speaking of the Rays and the Diamondbacks and the Rockies and the Marlins, there's a little bit of a rumor floating around in the Nevada desert. Anybody familiar with Las Vegas knows that just off strip, tucked up underneath the freeway, an All Suites Hotel sits directly across from the Palms and the Orleans. Talk about the Rio. Well, word around town in Las Vegas is the Rio is going to be no more. They're going to plow the Rio down, and they are going to create a Major League Baseball stadium for possible expansion to Las Vegas. We talked earlier in the season about some potential landing spots for Major League Baseball expansion. In a league that is ever so desperate to market itself more, I think that expansion looms. You do as well. Rob Manfred is on record as talking about expansion. Do you think that a sport so intertwined with gambling, rampant gambling, and so far as to it's a lifetime ban, it hangs in every clubhouse, it hangs in every dugout about no betting on the game. Do you think that Major League Baseball, with such a history, would be inclined to give a franchise to Las Vegas?
I think it's realistic, not for a while, but I think what you're seeing with what Vegas is doing with the NHL, with the Vegas Golden Knights being a ridiculous success, and then you have the Raiders there, or will be there within a couple of years. I think it's smart for Major League Baseball to kind of sit back and use that as an example and see how that works out. They have the luxury of being able to see two other professional sports go through those early stages of professional sports in Vegas at the
Baseball
highest level.
Baseball did not want to be first
for the first time. So I think it is realistic. They're not going to be the even third one. I mean, they're not going to be the second one, I should say, because the NFL is coming in. But I think it is a possibility. Who knows? I mean, we've got some elite baseball talent in the majors that came out of Vegas. It's not something I would think of as a baseball town, but if done right, I think it could work. That said, I think there are other locations that I would look at first if I was Major League Baseball and just let it play out, let the dust settle, and see how it works for the other professional sports.
I don't disagree. Not at all. I think that you're right on the money with the fact that Major League Baseball will eventually go there, but they were really feeling it out for the other sports to go do. The NBA has got to be right on the heels. Another sport where rampant gambling amongst referees has gone on is basketball. But interesting of note, I was reading some articles about Las Vegas, and those rumors are swirling around about the Rio getting knocked down and potentially making a place for a World Series, a Major League Baseball team in Las Vegas. So stay tuned for that potential expansion. And speaking of Sin City, they used to call Utica, New York, Sin City too. I don't know why. I don't even want to think about why. But what I do like about Utica, New York,
why.
I like Utica Club. And so we'd like to thank Saranac, our fine sponsor, and the first beer served after Prohibition in the United States. The Nectar of the Gods.
Magically ready to go. It was brewed within minutes after
Utica
Prohibition
Club
was repealed.
If you can find yourself a Utica Club out there and wherever you are, you should have one. So thanks to Saranac, our fine sponsor, and Utica Club, of course. So Sin City to Sin City and Utica Club. So, I mean,
cheers to that.
We're really kind of chugging along really fast here because there's nothing more to talk about other than the World Series.
Yeah, World Series.
We got some managerial vacancies, coming up more than likely. We're going to see that play out going into the winter meetings, but for now, it's all quiet on the Western Front.
We do have an update in the World Series. The LA Dodgers have tied the game at 1.
Well, either way, you could have told me.
You could make that noise for everyone in this game.
I don't even want to think about it. So instead of thinking about this year's World Series, you know what we should do? We should talk about all-time World Series moments.
There was a Matt Kemp sac fly with
Matt Kemp, the
David
ageless
Freese.
wonder, Matt Kemp.
David Freese scoring. He's another guy that was involved in some pretty ridiculous World Series
back on one of our old seventh inning stretches, we talked about, a couple shows ago, we talked about our all-time playoff roster, and we didn't mention David Freese. And David Freese, maybe statistically, had one of the better World Series of all time.
Yeah, and that was a hometown boy hero story right there, too.
So David Freese, no stranger to swinging it in October, right? But right now, you know what we should do?
That's why he was a great addition.
We got to get into the
not to go on a little bit of a
Freeze tangent. Freese, I went on to the Panda tangent. You can go on the Freeze tangent.
But that's why he was such a great pickup for the Dodgers when they did get him, is because he is a guy who has been through, the highest pressure situations in postseason play. And, even if he's just a bench guy or a defensive replacement or whatever, that is huge. That's a huge addition to have on your bench or in your lineup today. Somebody who has been there and done that before. It doesn't mean they're going to do it again, but it means they're not going through those first-year jitters. And I guess you could say that about a lot of the guys on the Dodgers, is they went through it last year too, with the exception of Machado. But, it's great pickup there by the Dodgers to get Freese. Anyways, that's the Freeze tangent.
The Freeze tangent.
So do we want to just jump right into it? Do our extra seventh inning stretch?
I don't know. Do you want to?
I think we're ready.
I think we're ready. I mean, I don't want to talk about this year's World Series anymore. I'm sorry. It's painful for me.
I know. I was going to say, if we get through this, I can go home and watch Cash Cab.
Yes, exactly. You're the next contestant on the Cash Cab. Real quick, one more time before we get into the seventh inning stretch. Want to talk about the Real Men Wear Pink campaign. Scroll on down to the pinned comment. Click on it. Donate to a good cause. And also want to thank our sponsors really quick. NYE Volkswagen, NYE VW of Rome. Come on down to NYE VW in Rome. Stop into the showroom at 5865 Tayberg Road and see why all their customers say they love their NYE VW.
See, that's a good segue. We're talking about Cash Cab, we're talking about vehicles, and we go right into the vehicles at NYE VW in Rome. So go check them out. Mention Disruption Network. Tell them we sent you.
Yeah, and if you mention Disruption Network at NYE Volkswagen of Rome, you receive $250 off of any purchase. So go check them out. Also want to talk about EJA Moving Company. EJA Moving, professional movers. You can reach them at 315-335-0516. Competitively priced moving, relocation, office moves, complete packing and unpacking services. They will work with everybody and make it simple for you to move and relocate. That's EJA Moving, EJAmoving.com, 315-335-0516. So that's it. It is time for the seventh inning stretch.
It's time for the seventh inning stretch.
It's the seventh inning stretch where tonight we're going to rank them. We're going to rank the all-time top World Series iconic moments. If you're out there and you're listening, tell us what you think. Tell us who's going to make our list. Typically, SPG and I'll do 7 each, but tonight we're going to go 14. And in honor of 14, as we said earlier, it's the longest World Series game ever played. It happened twice, 14 innings. So we're going to do 14. And to avoid repeat, We ranked them as a composite list. Ray the Goat.
Yeah, it was
Ray the Goat Sear checking
hard.
in. Thanks for checking in, Goat. An update 2-1 Dodgers. 2-1 Dodgers.
How about that?
Robbie Danger also clicking in here. What's going on, Danger? Nice to see you.
Robbie, put the World Series on mute so you don't have to listen to Joe
Mute
Buck.
Joe Buck. It is the Mute Joe Buck campaign.
Watch it, but mute Joe Buck.
All-time
please.
iconic World Series moments. And you get number 14, my man.
Yeah, so this has nothing to do with the play on the field. This was a interesting, very unique event, and this happened in the 1989 World Series.
Remember it like it was yesterday.
And this was the Earthquake World Series. The Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants. The Earthquake ended up delaying the World Series. Obviously, a pretty serious event, very tragic event for the Bay Area. But that, it doesn't have anything to do with some star performance of a player, but I think that deserves mention in any iconic World Series moments, for better or for worse. Number 14, the Earthquake.
The Earthquake.
The Earthquake.
And, just for the sake of doing it, Mother Nature, you're out of the baseline. Earthquake during the Fall Classic.
Yep,
what are you doing?
It was right before Game 3. About a half hour before first pitch was supposed to happen at Candlestick Park. October 17th, 1989. 5:04 p.m. is when the earthquake happened. And literally shook the Bay Area. I remember some of the images of San Francisco after that, and it was some pretty intense stuff to see, like the damage that had happened in how serious that was. In you have the World Series going on, which is supposed to be the best of the best in baseball, and a big celebration amongst sports fans, and you have this horrible thing happen. But yeah, either way, that definitely belongs on any list of World Series iconic moments. So that's what we have at 14.
Moving on to number 13, I'm going to break Dave's heart. It is 1997. Game 7. Miami, Florida. The Florida Marlins versus the Cleveland Indians. Bases loaded. 2 outs. Bottom of the 11th. Game 7. An 0-1 slider from Charles Nagy. Lined up the middle. Here comes Craig Counsell. And the Marlins win their first World Series. 1997 World Series, Edgar Renteria, Craig Counsell. The Marlins win. Number 13.
Yeah, that was quite the World Series. I was rooting for the Indians in that one, but didn't work out. But great World Series. And Craig Counsell, like you said, now managing the Milwaukee Brewers, a big part of that storyline for that World Series. So coming in at number 12, we're going to have to break Dave's heart again a little bit. And I'm sorry, Dave, we didn't do this intentionally, or did we? The 2016 World Series, the curse for the Chicago Cubs, the Billy Goat curse, is finally broken, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series over the Cleveland Indians in 7 games. And what a Game 7 that was. I said at the time, and I still say that was probably the greatest World Series as a whole I ever saw. Rajai Davis coming up big. Ben Zobrist, huge. And I thought for a while maybe that curse was going to be true, and the Indians looked like they were going to take it, and then the Chicago Cubs pull it off by winning Game 7 and becoming World Series champions for the first time since 1908.
1908.
1908. 108 years between titles.
So what are we up to? Number 11. Pretty iconic moment for number 11. But maybe the reason we landed it down here is because there may be a little bit of a dispute over the whole specific event. Although there are no disputes over the general events of the moment, the Chicago Cubs had been riding Mr. Babe Ruth in the 1932 World Series at Wrigley Field. Riding him to the point where Babe Ruth decided to take it upon himself to point, whether it be to center field or right to the pitcher himself, Charlie Root. Babe Ruth pointed and then belted a home run. In the 32 World Series.
The called shot.
The called shot. Number 11 on my list of all-time World Series moments. The called shot. 32 World Series.
So coming in at number 10.
The top 10.
Top 10 now. This, I mentioned the Cubs-Indians World Series is maybe one of the greatest World Series ever. Not maybe, as definitely one of the greatest World Series ever. And you could say that 2001 Diamondbacks beating the Yankees is up there as one of the greatest World Series ever, just back and forth.
Great World Series.
But the 1991 World Series definitely deserves to be in the conversation, and it often gets overlooked when people talk about the greatest World Series. And that was the game Game 6, when Kirby Puckett may have hit the greatest World Series home run ever. Arguable, there's other obvious examples of that, but again, one of the most important home runs ever hit in a World Series when Kirby Puckett ends up winning the game for them. That series had 5 of the 7 games were decided in a team's final at-bat. 5 of 7 games. So Kirby Puckett goes on. He ends up hitting a home run to left center field, gives the Twins the win. They even the series. So now it's going to Game 7. And I want to bundle that Kirby Puckett moment into what happened in Game 7, and that's Jack Morris goes out and throws 10 innings to win the World Series for the Minnesota Twins.
That you have it at number 10.
What a World Series that was.
Jack Morris, literally maybe the best World Series performance of all time in that game. 10 innings to go up against John Smoltz's 9 innings. Remember John Smoltz in one of our previous 7th inning stretches. I picked John Smoltz.
Yeah.
If I was going to go, I got one playoff game, I got to go win, I picked John Smoltz. But he was outdueled that day in 10 innings by future Hall of Famer now. He's a Hall of Famer, Jack Morris. But an iconic 91 World Series, highlighted, as we said before, by Mark Lemke with his .462 on-base percentage and his 1107 OPS. The 91 World Series, I like it. So that's your number 10, right?
That's what we got at 10.
Number 9, I'm going to go with a guy. We're going way back here.
We're going old school now.
Old school.
Not quite old Hoss Radborn era.
1941 World Series. Dem Bums, the Brooklyn Dodgers, versus the New York Yankees. In that season, 1941, a catcher by the name of Mickey Owen set a then record for fielding percentage by a catcher in a season with a .995 fielding average. So that's good, right?
That's good. That's good, right?
All right. But ironically, Mickey Owen is most remembered for an error. The Yankees held a 2-1 lead entering Game 4 on October 5th, 1941 at Ebbets Field. The Dodgers were leading 4-3 with 2 outs in the top of the 9th. The Yankees down to their last out. Down to their last strike. 3-2 count on Tommy Heinrich. Tommy Heinrich swings over strike 3. Mickey Owen can't pick up the ball. It goes to the backstop. Tommy Heinrich reaches safely on first base. The Yankees go on to score 4 more in the inning. They win the game 7-4. giving them a 3-1 lead in the series, and then the next day they beat the Dodgers 3-1 in Game 5. Dodgers lose the World Series. Mickey Owen dropped the third strike. So I'm going with Mickey Owens dropped third strike at number 9.
Number 8 for me is another World Series moment that was defined by an epic blunder. And that's Bill Buckner in the 1986 World Series against the New York Mets. The iconic moment of the Boston Red Sox winning at the time and the ball going through his legs and Mookie Wilson coming around to score, and then the Mets end up winning the game, and then they end up winning the World Series. And that moment is just infamous, and one of the moments that sticks out for me when I think of any kind of list of any kind of positive or negative notable World Series moments is I think of Bill Buckner. And that's what we got at number 8.
Number 7. Pretty iconic moment in baseball history.
Another Boston moment.
But
this time for the better.
And for this, we're going to give a little homage to our boys over at Good Will Hunting. Have a listen.
Friends and I slept out on the sidewalk all night to get tickets.
You got tickets?
Day of the game. We're sitting in the bar waiting for the game to start. In walks this girl. It was an amazing game, though. Bottom of the 8th, Carbo tied it up at a 6-6. Went to 12. Bottom of the 12th, in stepped Carlton Fisk. Old Pudge. Steps up to the plate. He's got that weird stance.
Yeah.
And then, boom! He clocks it, High fly ball on the left field line. 35,000 people on their feet, yelling at the ball. But that's not because Fisk, he's waving at the ball like a madman. He's going, get over! Get over! Get over! And then it hits a foul pole. Oh, he goes apeshit. And 35,000 fans, they charge the field, Yeah,
Carlton Fisk. Game, what was it? I don't even know. I didn't put it in front of me. Red Sox, Big Red Machine. Carlton Fisk, the iconic wave.
Game 6.
75 series. So, Game 6, 75 series. I got Carlton Fisk, the iconic foul pole shot, and the wave. Sorry for the little Good Will Hunting motif there. Every time I think about Boston, I think about that movie. So, Robin Williams explained it best, I think. But yeah, I got Carlton Fisk. Old Pudge, number 7.
So we're at number 6 now, and this is also a World Series moment where the Indians were on the losing end of it. Sorry again, Dave, but there are a lot of them. The catch. We're going old school on this one.
We're killing Dave
The
tonight.
catch. Willie Mays.
I'm sorry, Dave.
There's been some great moments. Sorry, Dave. It's all part of the Indians' curse, right? The Indians have a curse. They'll get one of these days. I thought it was going to be this year, but maybe next year, like all the other teams except for Boston and the LA Dodgers can say right now. But the catch, 1954, Game 1, Giants versus the Indians. The 8th inning comes up. The game's tied at 2. Slugger Vic Wertz comes up to the plate. And Vic Wertz had hit a 2-run home run earlier in the game for the only runs for the Indians at the time. So it's 2-2, and he just crushes one. And Willie Mays just tracks it, as you've seen in the famous footage of it. He just tracks it and tracks it and tracks it, and somehow gets to the warning track in that stadium and just looks over his shoulder with one of the most difficult things you could possibly have to do in the game of baseball, and pulled it off. And then the Giants ended up winning the game in extra innings, and they end up going on to sweep and win the World Series. So the catch coming in at number 7.
Wow. Quite a list if we got the catch coming in at number 7.
Yeah.
Right? I remember that play from when I was a little kid. It would always be, my dad would always talk about that catch. Until Jim Edmonds came along and made that catch that he made, my father would always talk about how the Willie Mays catch was the best catch ever until Jim Edmonds made his catch. But Willie Mays being in the World Series, that makes it the catch.
Yeah.
So
shout out to Robbie Danger too for throwing in the "We'll see you tomorrow night." The famous call. I should have mentioned that when I was talking about the 91 World Series, but yeah, that definitely needs to be brought up. So good call on that, Robbie. So yeah, we got the catch at number 6. Actually, we had Fisk at 7, Willie Mays at 6. So we're about to get to our top 5 now. About to get to our top 5, and just to recap. Coming in at number 14, we had the earthquake. At number 13, we had the 1997 Marlins versus Indians Game 7. Coming in at number 12, Cubs and Indians Game 7. Number 11, the called shot. Number 10, the 1991 World Series, Kirby Puckett home run in Game 6, and Jack Morris going 10 innings in Game 7. Number 9, Mickey Owen. Number 8, Bill Buckner in the 1986 World Series. Number 7, Carlton Fisk with the iconic home run. Number 6, Willie Mays with the catch. And that is a heck of a list right there. So it's just
we're into the top 5.
How hard it was to narrow this down.
We're into the top 5. What do you guys got out there? What do you guys think? I don't see anybody putting any guesses down. What do you guys think?
Top 5 moments.
Top 5 moments World Series history. Come on, you guys got to know. No? Nobody wants to comment?
They just want to hear us. That's okay.
That's good. That's good, right? So number 5.
We got it, number 5.
We're going to go back again. You know, it's tough to not visit. I believe they played 11 times in the World Series against each other. So it's tough not to land on a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. We're going to go to the 1956 series. Game 5. Yogi Berra behind the plate. Catches the final strike. Thrown by Don Larson. A perfect game in the World Series. 27 up, 27 down. A perfect game in the World Series. October 8th, 1956. Game 5, Don Larson. Perfect game. Number 5.
Number 4. Also a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. This one happening in 1977. And this was the birth of Mr. October, Reggie Jackson.
Reggie.
So Reggie, the Yankees are up 3-2.
The straw that stirs the drink.
The Yankees are up 3-2 in the series. They're at Yankee Stadium. Reggie Jackson hit a home run in Game 4 and 5. And he comes up, his first plate appearance, and he walks. His second plate appearance, he hits a home run. His third plate appearance, he hits a home run. His fourth plate appearance, he hits a home run. He hits 3 home runs in Game 6 to lead the Yankees to a World Series title, and he matched a record set by Babe Ruth, at the time the only player who had hit 3 home runs in a World Series game. And he also matched a record by Babe Ruth, 5 home runs hit in a series at the time. So what company that is, you know, when you match an achievement that Babe Ruth accomplished.
Faux show.
And he became Mr. October. And that was one of the most iconic moments in World Series history. It's always one of the first ones I think of when I think of, you know, highlights or crazy things that have happened in the World Series. So we got Reggie coming in at number 4.
Number 3, you know, speaking of one of the moments that you always think of when you think of the World Series, I think at number 3, this is the moment that I think of when I think of the World Series. Again, another Dodgers moment. 1988 World Series. Hall of Famer Dennis Eckersley on the mound. Kirk Gibson up to bat. Jack Buck, the one you don't need to mute. Don't mute Jack Buck.
No.
Don't mute him. Mute his son. Don't mute Jack.
All the respect.
Jack Buck on
Jack.
the call.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable! A home run for Gibson. And the Dodgers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw. I don't believe what I just saw. Gibson swing.
Yeah. So I got Kirky Gibson, man.
That's one of my earliest memories of watching the World Series. I think that is my most vivid memory of the World Series as a kid. I was 9 years old, and I remember just being in awe of that moment. I'd watched a lot of baseball before that. I'd played baseball as a kid. But that was the first moment I can recall where I was just completely blown away by what I saw, just like Jack Buck was. I didn't believe what I just saw, and it drew me into the game even more. I can tell you that was I was a Yankees fan, but just seeing that moment of Kirk Gibson coming around the bases, barely able to get around, just with that limp. It was questionable on whether or not the guy was even be able to swing a bat.
If you want to go,
he hits a home run, and then like you started doing, that's what I always remember is the iconic
fist
pumps.
So
I can't tell you how many times I did that in my backyard.
Yes,
hitting a home run or whatever. Making pretend I was Kirk Gibson coming around.
That was theater. To paraphrase Bob Costas, this year's recipient of the Ford C. Frick Award, to paraphrase Bob Costas, who was an on-field reporter through that, and you had Vin Scully's call, which is a very famous call of that home run, and you got Jack Buck's call, which is the more iconic call of that home run, and Bob Costas basically said...
You just said something, too, that is mind-blowing, too, to think. And obviously both of those guys are just absolutely giants in legendary baseball.
Yeah, Scully and Buck on the call.
Yeah.
And Bob Costas on the field.
Scully gets overshadowed, too, by the Buck call.
Buck call.
It is crazy.
If you want to go and watch something, if you're not really, I'm tied into that call. I love that call. I don't believe what I just saw. I don't believe what I just saw. It's just such a great call. But if you want to go watch theater, you want to watch baseball theater, there's about a 10-minute video on YouTube that you can go watch, and it's the whole thing. It's the whole 10 minutes leading up to that at bat, and it's all Vin Scully. And the way that, I believe it was NBC back then, NBC had it scripted so perfectly, where they showed Gibson with he's sitting there with his jacket on, not stirring in the dugout. Then he's stirring in the dugout, looking like he's going and taking swings in the tunnel. And then he comes out of the tunnel, and they say, he's coming in. And then they bring him in, and he hits the home run. It's just, they cut away. They got the cutaway to Eckersley's face after the ball gets hit, and Eckersley hangs his head down, and then they cut away back to Gibson rounding the base with the fist pump, and it's just amazing. So if you want to go and watch theater, baseball theater, Game 1 of the 1988 World Series, Kirk Gibson's home run, that is as good as baseball theater gets. So that's my number 3, or our number 3.
We'll have to share that out on our Facebook page.
I will.
Too.
I'll share it out tonight. Take a look on our Facebook page. You can get us on Facebook at The Baseline. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, and also on DisruptionNetwork.net.
Yeah, check out the website.
We've been talking about Disruption Network's campaign, the Real Men Wear Pink campaign, which you can see if you scroll down. But I also want to talk about Disruption Network. That's our home base. We are here at Disruption Studios, and we got a bunch of shows, a bunch of great content. We're following up Wrestle Fandom Radio. If you're a fan of the WWE.
Garrett was sticking around when we got here, and we were hanging out with him a little bit at the studio after
Wrestle
his show.
Fandom Radio, EC Radio. EC Radio had a big week with a couple really cool guests. Take a look at EC Radio, Ease Beats and Bizz, Home Free with Adeline Van Dyke.
The D-line.
The D-line now
talk
in
some
full
football.
swing, talking some football instead of baseball. Our kind of our sister show over there, although Chicken hates it when I say that. So check out all the good programming at Disruption Network. Now we're getting into our top 2 here.
Top 2.
Our top 2.
Coming in at number 2, Touch 'Em All, Joe. You got that one queued up?
I got that one queued up.
We got to hear that one.
Now introducing Aleve Back and Muscle.
Brought to you by Aleve.
Back and Muscle. Aleve back in muscle.
1993 World Series, Game 6.
The Wild Thing on the mound.
Mitch
Williams.
The Blue Jays had led the game earlier on in the game. They're up 3-2 in the series, trying to clinch it out, and they blew the lead. So the Phillies are now leading the game with a chance to send it to Game 7. Mitch Wild Thing Williams comes up, and Joe Carter comes up. He's got a 2-2 count. They're trying for their second consecutive World Series. They're in the Sky Dome.
Here's the pitch on the way. A swing and a belt. Left field. Way back. Blue Jays win it. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run in the 9th inning, and the Blue Jays have repeated as World Series champions. Touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Love it.
And isn't
One
that
of my
the truth?
favorite calls of all time.
Isn't that the truth? And the thing I love about these calls, like the one you just played in the Joe Carter one, is how genuine these legendary broadcasters are. And you can tell that that is legit, not scripted. It's not like they had in their head, oh, if Joe Carter hits a home run, this is what I'm going to say.
You mean exactly what Joe Buck isn't?
Yes, exactly. That's a good way of putting it.
Scripted and mannequin-like, even robotic, if you will.
Very robotic.
I don't like you, Joe Buck. I don't. Stick around. You might be out of the baseline. Who knows? I got to throw somebody out. Probably going to be you, Joe Buck. I hate you. Mute Joe Buck. Mute Joe Buck. Mute Joe Buck. Listen to the baseline. We're at our number one moment. And the only reason Joe Carter walking it off in 6 with that home run, that big, iconic home run in the era of big TV and prime time World Series.
Something huge must be number one.
The prime time World Series is kind
Joe Carter.
It's ingrained in people's minds with the Gibby home run, and even Reggie's stuff. All right, this one maybe not so much. It might not be ingrained in people's minds, but it's important to note that somebody walked it off in Game 7. His name was Bill Mazeroski. Bill Mazeroski, he made the Mick cry. The paper said the Mick was crying.
1960, Pirates Yanks.
Sorry, a little Bronx Tale action there. The paper said the Mick was crying. Bill Mazeroski, 1960 series, walks it off in Game 7. Over the center field wall, over old number 7. Walks it off in Game 7. How is that not the most iconic World Series moment of all time? Bill Mazeroski.
A walk-off Game 7 home run.
Every wiffle ball game that has ever been played in the backyard has had that exact scenario verbalized.
Yeah, you figure
by someone in that game.
You figure Joe Carter was a Game 6. Kirk Gibson was a Game 1, I believe, and Reggie was a Game 6. For as iconic and amazing as those moments were, they were not a Game 7 walk-off home run. So tip of the cap to Bill Mazeroski.
It's funny that I'm looking at a picture of Bill Mazeroski and he's got his hat up like this. He's
Perfect
tipping it back at you. 2001
Tip of the cap, Bill.
Hall of Fame inductee, Bill Mazeroski. Bill Mazeroski, you are number 1 on the Baseline's 7th inning stretch list of top World Series moments of all time.
For swatting Ralph Terry's offering over the left field wall.
And for that, sir, you're going to be safe. You want to be? What do we want to be safe? He's inside the base. We got to Galenzo. You're going to record us an inside the baseline. So you're safe. You're inside the baseline, Bill Mazeroski. Even though you took down the Mick and the Yankees, you walked it off with a tater in Game 7. Tip of the cap to you, Bill Mazeroski. I love it. That's the 7th inning stretch, everybody. We got to number 1. So many more that we could have had on this list, but that's it. That's 14. 14 inning game.
Oh, do we have an
14
update on
list.
Johnny Fields' OPS this season? Do we have that queued up?
Yeah, I'll have that in a second for you. Do we have an update on the World Series currently
Here's your
going
World
on?
Series
Mute Joe Buck.
update.
Mute Joe Buck.
The LA Dodgers are currently winning 2-1 in the bottom of the fifth, but the Red Sox do have a runner on base here against Hyun-Jin Ryu. And that guy at the plate
Hyun-Jin Ryu
is Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is up right now with a guy on base.
So, we can't end the show without doing the field report. Our boy Johnny Field enjoying the offseason, probably spelunking or wakeboarding somewhere, in the South Pacific. I know where you are, Johnny. I know. But here's an update on Johnny Field's WAR.
0.0.
And that's the field report for this week. 0.0.
Still at 0.0. You think he's spelunking?
I do. I think he
I
might be
picture him more as
spelunking
like a volunteer on a pumpkin farm or something like that. Working the corn maze.
Haunted hay rides, Johnny. 0 for 2 strikeouts. You're going to end up back on the farm, Johnny. I don't know. He's a pretty fit, young, handsome, strapping lad. Maybe he's doing some good on the farm for them. But that's this week's field report. Johnny. 0 for 2 strikeouts, Johnny's going to keep that fungus on your shower shoes, Johnny.
So that's almost a wrap for episode 24. But we still got to throw some people out of the baseline. Before we go, what do you got?
All right. I already said one of them, but I'll throw them out in a minute. I'm going to throw out the Houston Astros. Cheating's not cool.
Yeah, I agree. That definitely is directly tied into what I was going to say, and we've thrown Major League Baseball out of the baseline several times, and I am throwing Major League Baseball out again. Yeah, of course, the Astros for the allegations, but more so, in my opinion, for how Major League Baseball handled that situation by basically turning a blind eye and basically just kind of like, we're just not gonna talk about that anymore, guys. That's a pretty serious allegation, especially happening in the ALCS. And unfortunately for the Indians, they get maybe screwed if those allegations are true in a year where they could have challenged Boston with that pitching staff they have, and it's a shame to think that could very well have affected the outcome of this season. But
so the Astros,
Major League Baseball.
You're out of the baseline.
Out of here.
And
I'll throw one out to I'll Manny Machado too.
You're out
for that dirty play at first base.
Yeah,
with Aguilar.
No call for that. Manny Machado.
You're out of here.
You're out.
He's out.
Joe Buck. Joey. I think I speak for the better part of America and baseball fans worldwide. Fox. I'm throwing Fox out.
You're out of the baseline.
Fox is out. John Smoltz, you're out just due to the fact that you're complicit in this ass
I'm
hat.
glad you brought that up because I love John Smoltz as a player.
I do too, but he needs to shut up too.
I'm glad you brought that up because he's equally as bad.
It's like there's like a hierarchy of, and it's like I'm gonna rank like Keith Hernandez is probably fourth worst. Keith Hernandez is fourth worst. There's 3 people worse than Keith Hernandez. Ron Darling, John Smoltz, and Joe Buck. Say it ain't so, John.
Not good, right?
Say it ain't so. Yeah, John Smoltz has been equally as horrendous so far in this postseason, but Joe Buck,
you're out of the baseline.
Permanently out of the baseline. I don't understand how you get the All-Star Game, the World Series, the Super Bowl. I just don't understand it.
His dad was Jack. That's how.
Yeah. Rolling over in his grave.
On the Smoltz topic, too, there was...
Jack Buck's rolling over in his grave on a home run by the Wizard.
So last night, Smoltz, I think the shift worked like 4 or 5 times in that game, and he didn't say a word about it. And then the 5th time, somebody comes up and beats the shift or whatever, and he goes, see, that's why you shouldn't play the shift. And It's like, did you not just see it work perfectly like four times in a row, and you just kind of kept silent about it, and then you picked that one like, see, back when I played, you get into that mode, and that's what I don't like. You have to look forward, even if you're an old school player, to be an effective announcer, and I think that's definitely where Joe Buck fails too. Is he's trying too much to be traditional old school. And you can't force that. You either are that or you're not. And you got to be forward thinking and kind of adjust and modernize how you deliver your your play-by-play or your color commentary. But I don't see a whole lot of that happen there with that duo. So they're out of here.
You're out of the baseline.
I'll throw Marlins man out of there too. I'm sick of looking at him.
Lawrence Levy? I like Lawrence. But you're throwing him out?
You're out.
He's got to go out.
That's temporary.
I'll just give Marlins man
I'm just bitter.
I'll just put him on like
Strike.
There you go. Well, okay, he's got strike one.
He's got strike one for Marlins man. Poor Marlins
After
man.
further review, he was not out of the baseline after a 20-minute instant replay.
Oh,
so
can we not even go off onto an instant replay tangent, please?
I'm okay with that. So that's
how can we see things clearly at home and you don't see them in New York with all your hyper angles? And I just don't understand. Fuck Marlins, man.
Dave agrees with me.
Dave agrees. I see Dave's back. Was going to say Machado too. Yeah, Dave. We did definitely discuss the Astros
Machado,
too.
MLB, Astros, Joe Buck, John Smoltz.
Well, I mean, as long as Dave's tuning in and he's on board with everyone we've thrown out so far, and they haven't had anything to do with Major League Baseball in a month, let's throw ESPN out.
You're out of the baseline.
Because according to Dave, they're always out.
Yeah.
So we'll throw ESPN
permanently out. So they're all out of here. I think we're out of here too. Go to disruptionnetwork.net and check out all the great content there. Check out our Facebook page. We mentioned Real Men Wear Pink. Please do donate if you can, even if it's just $1. Every little bit helps us raise awareness and some money for the American Cancer Society to help fight this terrible disease that so many people are affected by. So we appreciate your support on that. And I think it's time to wrap it up here. We still got a couple more shows before we get into our off season. We're going to be doing a season recap and a World Series recap here pretty soon, and then we'll do an off-season preview, like a winter meetings type show at some point, and that'll be a wrap for season 1. But we still got a couple more shows. But for now, we're going to get out of here. I got to go catch some reruns of Cash Cab tonight. I don't know about you, JP, but I'll see you guys next time around.
Cash Cab.
Thanks
You're
for
on a
tuning
Cash
in.
Cab. That's it, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Help the D make strides against breast cancer by donating to our Real Men Wear Pink page, maine.acsevents.org/Utica. It's important for us as a whole to help raise awareness, education, and do our part to help fight this horrible disease. The Disruption team will be raising funds at upcoming events and all our daily programming. Please support our cause by donating a few dollars to our Real Men Wear Pink page. To learn more, visit maine.acsevents.org/Utica or follow the donation link on our Facebook page. Help the D, save the B's, and put an end to breast cancer.
Thank you for your service, you're welcome. A comedy benefit show for our veterans. In support of the Central New York Veterans Outreach Center. On November 10th at Wakely, 700 Varick Street, Utica, join Disruption Network as they team up with 92.7 FM The Drive for this night of laughter. The evening will be hosted by Genesee Joe from The Drive. Performances by Mike Ciccone, Paul Kozlowski, Cortland Kloos, Mike Pileggi, and DJ Ease One. Admission is by donation only. Please bring clothes, socks, gloves, non-perishable food items, or a small monetary donation. All donations will go to the Central New York Veterans Outreach Center. Saturday, November 10th at Wakely's on Varick Street. Doors open at 7 p.m. Show starts at 8 p.m. Thank you for your service is sponsored by The D, 92.7 FM The Drive, Paulie's Barbershop, NYE Volkswagen of Rome, Frank's Guns, and Central New York Seal Coating and Concrete.
So you just bought your dream home, and now it's time to move. Let's face it, nobody likes to move. All the packing, unpacking, lifting, upstairs, downstairs, and broking everything, including your back? Let the professionals at EJA Moving Company take all the stress and pain out of your move. Competitively priced moving, relocation services, office moves, and complete packing and unpacking services. They work with everybody to make it simple and easy for you to move and relocate. Call EJA Moving Company at 315-335-0516. When it's time to relocate, have EJA Moving do all the work for you. Hit them up online, ejamoving.com.
Hey, Disruption Network. This is Mike Sacco, the general manager at NYE Volkswagen of Rome. If you don't know me by name, it's only because you have not received the best deal. There's only one reason to leave Utica, and that's to come see me in Rome and get the best deal on your next new, pre-owned, or certified VW. Mention that you heard this ad from Disruption Network and receive $250 off your next vehicle purchase. You'll know why our customers say, I love my NYE VW. Come see us at 5865 Rome Taberg Road in Rome, or visit us online at NYEVWofRome.com.
The Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley was born when 3 top producing agents with over 25 years of combined experience selling real estate joined forces to take real estate to the next level. We practice with honesty, integrity, and the knowledge to help make the buying and selling process easy and stress-free for all of our clients. We pledge to always make our clients our top priority from start to finish, and even after the house is closed. We will always be a valued resource for information and assistance for our buyers and sellers. Our customers over the years have become not only past clients, but great friends. As we join hands together as the Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley, we look forward to serving our clients and our community and making a positive difference. You can reach us at 315-601-9630 for all of your real estate needs.
The Disruption Network is making moves. For upcoming events, news, interviews, and new daily programming, keep in the loop with us at DisruptionNetwork.net. Like, follow, and subscribe to all our social media. And check out all our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Get up on the D, DisruptionNetwork.net.
Welcome to EC Radio Podcast. We would like to thank all of our sponsors for joining the Disruption team, and we hope that you'll support all of our sponsors. And of course, we appreciate you listening to this program.